The Indian Constitution. Key features. By the beginning of the 20th century, the Indian national movement had been active in the struggle for independence from British rule for several decades. Indian national movement. The Indian national movement emerged in 19th century India and saw thousands of men and women coming together to fight British rule. This culminated in India's independence in 1947. You will learn about this in greater detail in your history textbook this year. During the freedom struggle, the nationalists had devoted a great deal of time to imagining and planning what a free India would be like. Under the British, they had been forced to obey rules that they had very little role in making. The long experience of authoritarian rule under the colonial state convinced Indians that free India should be a democracy in which everyone should be treated equally and be allowed to participate in government. What remained to be done then was to work out the ways in which a democratic government would be set up in India and the rules that would determine its functioning. This was done not by one person, but by a group of around 300 people who became members of the Constituent Assembly in 1946 and who met periodically for the next 3 years to write India's constitution. These members of the Constituent Assembly had a huge task before them. The country was made up of several different communities who spoke different languages, belonged to different religions, and had distinct cultures. Also, when the constitution was being written, India was going through considerable turmoil. The partition of the country into India and Pakistan was imminent. Some of the princely states remained undecided about their future, and the socio-economic condition of the vast mass of people appeared dismal. All of these issues played on the minds of the members of the Constituent Assembly as they drafted the Constitution. They rose to the occasion and gave this country a visionary document that reflects a respect for maintaining diversity while preserving national unity. The final document also reflects their concern for eradicating poverty through socio-economic reforms, as well as emphasizing the crucial role the people can play in choosing their representatives. 1. Federalism. This refers to the existence of more than one level of government in the country. In India, we have governments at the state level and at the centre. Panchayati Raj is the third tier of government. The vast number of communities in India meant that a system of government needed to be devised that did not involve only persons sitting in the capital city of New Delhi and making decisions for everyone. Instead, it was important to have another level of government in the states so that decisions could be made for that particular area. While each state in India enjoys autonomy in exercising powers on certain issues, subjects of national concern require that all of these states follow the laws of the central government. The Constitution contains lists that detail the issues that each tier of government can make laws on. In addition, the Constitution also specifies where each tier of government can get the money from for the work that it does. Under federalism, the states are not merely agents of the federal government, but draw their authority from the Constitution as well. All persons in India are governed by laws and policies made by each of these levels of government. 2. Parliamentary form of government. The different tiers of government that you just read about consist of representatives who are elected by the people. Your class 7th book began with the story of Kanta, who was standing in line to vote during an election. The Constitution of India guarantees universal adult suffrage for all citizens. When they were making the Constitution, the members of the Constituent Assembly felt that the freedom struggle had prepared the masses for universal adult suffrage and that this would help encourage a democratic mindset and break the clutches of traditional caste, class, and gender hierarchies. This means that the people of India have a direct role in electing their representatives. Also, every citizen of the country, irrespective of his or her social background, can also contest in elections. These representatives are accountable to the people. You will read more about why representation is crucial to democratic functioning in Unit 2 of this book. 3. Separation of powers. According to the Constitution, there are 3 organs of the state. These are the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. The legislature refers to our elected representatives. The executive is a smaller group of people who are responsible for implementing laws and running the government. The judiciary, of which you will read more in Unit 3 of this book, refers to the system of courts in this country. In order to prevent the misuse of power by any one branch of the state, the Constitution says that each of these organs should exercise different powers. Through this, each organ acts as a check on the other organs of the state, and this ensures the balance of power between all 3. The word state is often used in this chapter. This does not refer to state governments. Rather, when we use state, we are trying to distinguish it from government. Government is responsible for administering and enforcing laws. The government can change with elections. The state, on the other hand, refers to a political institution that represents a sovereign people who occupy a definite territory. We can thus speak of the Indian state, the Nepali state, etc. The Indian state has a democratic form of government. The government or the executive is one part of the state. The state refers to more than just the government and cannot be used interchangeably with it. 4. Fundamental rights. The section on fundamental rights has often been referred to as the conscience of the Indian Constitution. Colonial rule had created a certain suspicion of the state in the minds of the nationalists, and they wanted to ensure that a set of written rights would guard against the misuse of state power in independent India. Fundamental rights, therefore, protect citizens against the arbitrary and absolute exercise of power by the state. Arbitrary means when nothing is fixed and is instead left to one's judgment or choice. This can be used to refer to rules that are not fixed or decisions that have no basis, etc. Ideal means a goal or a principle in its most excellent or perfect form. The Constitution, thus, guarantees the rights of individuals against the state as well as against other individuals. The various minority communities also express the need for the Constitution to include rights that would protect their group. The Constitution, therefore, also guarantees the rights of minorities against the majority. As Dr. Ambedkar has said about these fundamental rights, their object is twofold. The first objective is that every citizen must be in a position to claim those rights. And secondly, these rights must be binding upon every authority that has got the power to make laws. In addition to fundamental rights, the Constitution also has a section called Directive Principles of State Policy. This section was designed by the members of the Constituent Assembly to ensure greater social and economic reform and to serve as a guide to the independent Indian state to institute laws and policies that help reduce the poverty of the masses. The fundamental rights in the Indian Constitution include 1. Right to equality. All persons are equal before the law. This means that all persons shall be equally protected by the laws of the country. It also states that no citizen can be discriminated against on the basis of their religion, caste, or sex. Every person has access to all public places, including playgrounds, hotels, shops, etc. The state cannot discriminate against anyone in matters of employment, but there are exceptions to this that you will read about later in this book. The practice of untouchability has also been abolished. 2. Right to freedom. This includes the right to freedom of speech and expression, the right to form associations, the right to move freely and reside in any part of the country, and the right to practice any profession, occupation, or business. Right against exploitation. The Constitution prohibits trafficking, forced labor, and children working under 14 years of age. Trafficking means the practice of the illegal buying and selling of different commodities across national borders. In the context of fundamental rights discussed in this chapter, it refers to illegal trade of human beings, particularly women and children. 4. Right to freedom of religion. Religious freedom is provided to all citizens. Every person has the right to practice, profess, and propagate the religion of their choice. 5. Cultural and educational rights. The Constitution states that all minorities, religious or linguistic, can set up their own educational institutions in order to preserve and develop their own culture. 6. Right to constitutional remedies. This allows citizens to move the court if they believe that any of their fundamental rights have been violated by the state. 5. Secularism. A secular state is one in which the state does not officially promote any one religion as the state religion. We will read more about this in the following chapter. You now understand the ways in which a country's history often determines the kind of constitution that a country adopts for itself. The Constitution plays a crucial role in laying out the ideals that we would like all citizens of the country to adhere to, including the representatives that we elect to rule us. Just like in the game of football, a change of constitutive rules will affect the game. Indian Constitution has been changed over the years to reflect new concerns of the polity. Often, a major change in the Constitution means a change in the fundamental nature of the country. We saw this in the case of Nepal and how it needs to adopt a new constitution after it has recently become a democratic society. Subscribe to my channel. Click on bell icon to get notification about new video.